Hi guys, Mark here. Thanks so much for clicking and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be having a look at Grimes' 5 best pop tracks. Originally I was going to do a best of top 5 for Grimes' whole discography, but I think her earlier albums don't really lend themselves to an individual track dissection because they work so well as complete bodies of work and it's really hard to break them up. So what I decided that I would do is pick out what I think are her best 5 pop songs in the conventional sense, and then I'll go through each one of those in turn and let you have my thoughts. If you're enjoying my reaction videos, then please do subscribe to the channel and give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And also if you've got any recommendations on other artists that you'd like me to do reactions to, please set them out in the comment section below and I'd be more than happy to go and have a look at them and react to those songs. Without further ado, let's kick off with track number 5 on my top 5 pop songs from Grimes, and at number 5 it's a cut from her 4th studio album, Art Angels, and at number 5 it's Kill V Main. I think the track hits you so instantly, it's got such intent to it. Love the kind of surf guitar in the background here, contrasted against how kind of like clear her vocals are. The production is great on this track, like where that beat drop kicks in, love that. And she just like completely switches it up now to the kind of pre-chorus. Vocal style has changed completely. You're thinking, where's the chorus gonna go? And then the chorus is so propulsive and frenetic. It really like drives you forwards. And then you've got the backing vocals going on as well. Okay, so let's just stop there and pause for a second. I mean, it's a song that kind of packs a massive punch from the word go. And I think the thing that I like about it is the real contrast between the instrumental, which is all over the place, and the vocal in the verses, which is kind of really measured and composed. And as the verse kind of progresses and it moves into the bridge and then the chorus, it gets less and less precise. It gets a bit more incohesive and sloppy, and the intent behind it really builds and builds and builds, and then it becomes this massive chorus. And I absolutely love how the song kind of works in that way. And as we'll see in a second, it then kind of reverts back on the next verse. And so the song has got a real mix of emotions and it really undulates and takes you on a journey with Grimes. Her vocals sometimes are so gentle and delicate with such an obvious pop sensibility to it. And this is one of those real moments. But then she switches it up completely here, takes it somewhere completely else. I think there's quite like a 90s vibe to this part of the song, to my ear. I think I was reading about this song and it's meant to be about Al Pacino, or written from his perspective. I think this is one of those songs by Grimes where the meaning is not necessarily obvious. And then she completely strips it back for the middle 8. Again, a real kind of pop sensibility to the vocals, but then you've got this kind of like really dirty, insistent beat in the background. It all starts to build again now. I've never actually seen Grimes perform this song live before. I can imagine that it must be absolutely amazing, just this kind of like surge of power and energy coming from her. And then just the little added elements that have been put onto the production at this part of the song, which keeps the listener's interest still right to the very end. And there's like 1,000,001 super catchy hooks in the song, and I absolutely love a good outro, and this song definitely doesn't disappoint in that respect. Takes the production somewhere else again. Okay, so that was number 5, Kill V Main. I just think it's such a kind of intense song, and it's completely different every time you listen to it. It's so multifaceted, there's so many different dimensions, and there's something new to take away every time. And as I said, the number of like pop hooks on the vocals throughout the course of the song is amazing. You've got to have like 3 or 4 really strong pop hooks within that one track, which I just fail to see how that can't excite and engage the listener. So yeah, Kill Will Be Maim is absolutely one of my favourite Grimes pop tracks. So for number 4, we're going to go somewhere completely else now. As I said, it is all her pop tracks, and so I think a lot of people might think that the tracks on this list are quite obvious, but that's been done deliberately because it's geared towards those songs that I think have got that kind of pop sensibility. Number 4 is a complete shift in pace and a complete shift thematically as well. It's Delete Forever at number 4, which is a cut from her most recent album, and which actually I just think is a really beautiful song. So let's get stuck into it. I remember hearing this song for the first time and just thinking, my God, this is different to anything I've ever heard Grimes do before. And then the vocal comes in, which is so emotive and pained. It sounds kind of like an Oasis song, I think, to my ears, the instrumentation. Obviously the live instrumentation has been modified because that's just what Grimes does, but it's something that's really beautiful and very different. And then that beat comes in. And I just remember the first time that I listened to it actually getting quite emotional and definitely had a tear in my eye. I think it was written about someone who had died as part of the opioid crisis, and I think the pain that she feels is so obvious on this song, and it really resonated with me from the very first moment I heard it. And her vocal delivery as well is just, you know, she has got this lighter, more gentle tone, and she doesn't always deploy it in that way, and it just works so perfectly to my ear on this song. I think it's this bit as well, the bit before the chorus, where you get to really hear the emotion in her voice to its full extent. And I think a lot of people were not critical of this song, but were very questioning about it because it is so simplistic compared to the majority of her back catalogue. But I just think it really goes to reinforce the breadth of her back catalogue, and the kind of ums here were really giving me kind of Madonna Ray of Light era ums, so kind of Frozen-esque ums, which, you know, they just work for me, so I love them. And I'm not sure actually whether the instrumentation throughout the whole thing is a modified banjo or not, or whether it's a guitar. I think it might be a banjo. And I think everyone, you know, knows that she's such a talented producer, but it reminds you that she's also a really talented multi-instrumentalist as well. And then this bit at the end, which is just so kind of forlorn, really. It's really kind of contemplative, with just the little inflections of the banjo going throughout it. That was Delete Forever at number 4, which, as I said during the song, was just a completely different Grimes experience and completely shifted, I think, the expectations that people had of her. And the video as well was absolutely beautiful visually and so effective, and she looked stunning in it. Number 3 now, which is a song that I only came to actually very recently, in kind of like the last 6 months or something, because I don't believe that it featured on an album and then it was just a single. Even more strangely, I understand that this was originally written for Rihanna, but was never recorded by her. And it seems so strange to think that Grimes at one point was writing for Rihanna, but it's just such a kind of weird pairing. I would have loved to have seen how it would have worked out if Rihanna had actually recorded this or even collaborated on it with Grimes, but that never happened, so I guess we'll never know. But at number 3 for me, in terms of pop tracks, is Go, which features Blood Diamonds. So let's get into it. This instrumental in the intro is absolutely beautiful. And actually the vocal on this, super, super poppy, both in terms of the melody and the delivery. Production here, where it's really starting to build. There's this kind of ethereal effect on her voice. And then it just completely switches it up and takes it somewhere else. And I wonder whether actually this part of the song was never in the song but was put to Rihanna, and it was just the kind of melody from the verses and the chorus that were put to her. Because personally, I don't know if I could imagine Rihanna doing a song that had this kind of production in it for the kind of chorus. You get a real showcasing of the breadth of her vocal range in this song. Where she goes very high and airy. It's interesting actually, she sounds a lot younger on this track, I think. It might be that it sounds like there's a bit of a kind of naivety to her vocal here. I don't think she would sound like this if she sang this song now. The beat goes hard on this chorus. I really like it. But it's still, at the same time, got very mainstream appeal still. It doesn't alienate the audience because the really catchy vocal hook is throughout, so it brings you along. And then it just strips it all back. Kind of very bare production again. Which again is interesting, and it makes me think the conventional type of song that Rihanna might be accustomed to that would be radio friendly, this certainly isn't it, because the way in which the song works, there's not a massive middle eight or super catchy hook towards the end, so it wouldn't necessarily work well on radio. Okay, so that was number 3 on my top pop list for Grimes. At number 2 is again one from her most recent album. For me, it was a standout track from the very, very first listen, and it was the one that kind of I listened to on repeat even before I'd listened to all of the tracks on the album once. I was listening to this one multiple times. I think it's really interesting from the very, very start. It's definitely a genre straddling piece of music, and a bit like Kill v Maim for me, every time I listen to it there's something different to focus on and listen to. So without further ado, at number 2 is 4EM. I think that's how you pronounce it. Who knows? Let me know in the comment section. At the beginning it's got this kind of like jungle sound to it, kind of rainforest tropical sound is how I would describe it. And then her voice comes in and it's just so different to anything we've really heard her do before. There's these kind of tribal elements that are kind of creeping in, and you're thinking, I've got no idea what the end result in terms of this song is going to be. And obviously the Indian influence here, which just works so beautifully, I think, in terms of the track. Really enjoy it. And then she throws us this curveball and it goes into a completely different direction. And then you've got like a real hard drum and bass beat that just like kicks in, and then it's just like pounding. And then that little vocal refrain, which I think is a sample from an Indian track, if I'm right, just works so well in really building the song. I do really think that this is one of those songs that kind of takes you on a journey from, in terms of the acoustics of it, the emotions that you feel within the song. But I do think Grimes takes you on the journey with her. She doesn't lose the audience. And then the production switches up here. Again, always keeping the listener's interest. And we get a breakdown with just the vocals, and then it's building. Yeah, I think that must be a sample from, it's got kind of Indian origin to it. I'm not sure what the name of the song is though. And this is another example of just a really beautiful outro on the song. The song reaches this massive crescendo, and it could just leave you sitting there thinking, my goodness, what on earth just happened? But it gently brings you down afterwards from it. I think actually the outro on this song is one of my absolute favourite parts of the song, to be honest with you, which is weird to say for an outro, but it really is. Again, I think this would be an amazing song to see her do live. Okay, so that was my number 2. Top of the tree, number 1 on Grimes' top pop songs. Well, for me, this has been, I think, my favourite Grimes song since I started listening to her. I was very late to the party in terms of getting on board, in that I think she was NME's Album of the Year for Our Angels, and then on the back of that review, I downloaded this track, and then when I listened to this track, I was then like, my God, I've got to download the whole album. And then I went to the back catalogue before that, after that, and then obviously when she released her most recent album, I just got it as it came out. So my number 1 on my top pop tracks for Grimes is Venus Fly, which was a collaboration with Janelle Monáe. I love Janelle's music, and I think her and Grimes are a fantastic pairing, a fantastic collaboration partnership. I absolutely loved Pink from Janelle's most recent album. I don't think it quite reaches the height of Venus Fly for me, but I just think it's such a kind of tour de force to super strong and impressive female pop stars, but who are doing things on their own terms and who are at the unconventional end of the spectrum, but are absolutely thriving in terms of what they're doing and delivering top-notch material. It's also got an amazing video. If you've not seen it, watch it. It's just absolutely, you know, the colours, the effects, the outfits, it's absolutely insane. So definitely check it out. But without further ado, let's get into number 1 on my list, Venus Fly. And even now, just hearing that intro brings a smile to my face. It's just such a kind of alluring intro to the song. And then when you've got this kind of breakdown percussion bit here, you've really got no idea what's in store with the rest of the song. Who's going to be leading on it vocally? The delivery on the song from Janelle is really punchy, filled with attitude. And then Grimes takes it in her completely different direction in terms of vocal delivery, but it's still absolutely conveying the message of the song. I think it's written, or I've read that it's written from the perspective of, you know, really ferociously beautiful women that have that danger to them. And as I understand it, from what I've read, actually this is one of the songs that Grimes really liked from this album. I think in more recent interviews she said that actually she doesn't like this album so much, Art Angels, but that this remains one of her favourite tracks from it. Just love how kind of gritty and dirty the bass is on this part. And Grimes' vocal kind of like lifts above everything else that's going on below. And some beautiful harmonisation going on as well. And then this bit kind of gives it this kind of industrial edge to it as well. There's loads going on, but it doesn't sound over-cluttered because every sound has got its place within the song and it is all thought out so well to my ear. And I absolutely love this bit where it just completely switches it up. I mean, I think this must be like a fiddle or something going on. I don't know whether Grimes can play a fiddle as well as all the other instruments she can play. Is it a fiddle? And then we're building, and the breakdown where the beat just goes so hard. And then again, she gives us a lovely outro here. We've got the throbbing beat still, but the live instrumentation that's coming through as well. Keeps things interesting right until the very end. Okay, so that was my top 5 pop tracks from Grimes. As I said at the beginning, I think the nature of her earlier albums, which work as a kind of cohesive body of work that you listen to from start to finish, don't work so well as individual tracks. And I don't know whether that's as a kind of result of Grimes coming more into the mainstream, and so her songs having to work on a number of different levels, so both within the course of an album, but also as individual tracks as well. I don't know whether people have got thoughts on that or not, but as I said, the tracks on this playlist I think were all singles and were all probably expected tracks on here. There's not been any left field tracks as there usually are in my reactions. But if anyone's got any views as to what other songs should have been included in and any that shouldn't have been included in this list, then please do put your thoughts in the comment section below. Okay guys, well if you've enjoyed this reaction then please do subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And other than that, that's everything from me in this video. So thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you on another one of my reaction videos soon.